What's going on, everyone? I am just a typical, average American here today to react to yet another interview gone horribly wrong with the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra. Somehow this guy has found himself representing me and every other American out there to our neighbor, Canada. And I don't know, it just goes to show you, never ever give up on your dreams, right? Because if this guy can get this far in life, anyone can. So today, I really want to check out some comments that he made recently towards a Canadian journalist, Rebecca Zandbergen, where apparently he actually attempts to defend Trump's actions towards Canada. And so I gotta check this out and see what he said. So let's take a look.
We heard this week that Donald Trump has decided he does not want to extend it, at least right now. That's what we're learning.
So they're talking about CUSMA, which is like the Canada, Mexico, US trade agreement. Huge trade agreement that was up for renewal. Donald Trump decided, in his wisdom, that the US will not be renewing this enormous trade deal that has largely been critically acclaimed, seen as a massive success. It's actually, this trade deal was originally negotiated by Donald Trump, and he loved it. He talked about how amazing it was back in his first term when it came into effect. But now, it's awful and terrible and taking advantage of us for some reason. So that's the pretext here.
This past fall, all the sides seem to have come to a pretty close deal. An agreement seemed to be in the works, but it fell apart in part because of that Ronald Reagan ad. At least that's why it seemed as though the plug was pulled.
What? Really? Is that why? Hold on. The Ronald Reagan ad? Has anyone even thought about that? For months? Since it just goes to show you that I think, Donald Trump and a lot of our politicians really, make a lot of these decisions on an emotional basis. What did that ad hurt his feelings? Is that the basis on which we're running the United States? Is that how we're making decisions? Because we're upset about a political ad? I've heard several things about why Kuzma was not renewed by the United States. I wish we'd just come out and be really clear and transparent about that, but I guess that's asking too much. I've heard that Trump is upset that Canada is doing any business with China, which is extremely hypocritical and influencing our decision making, I guess. And now I'm hearing that Trump is upset about the Ronald Reagan, the one where Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, made an ad with Ronald Reagan using clips of him talking about how bad tariffs are. It wasn't even an ad of AI Donald Trump in clown makeup, I think kind of funny. That would at least be I would understand why Trump is upset about that. This is just like Ronald Reagan, clips of him talking about tariffs. So, yeah, as an American, that's extremely disappointing to hear that that's the basis of all the decision making here for us.
Was that the only thing that derailed that particular deal at that time?
I know that influenced how the U.S. perceived that. Foreign countries do not go into other countries and do political ads. Advocating for certain candidates, especially during an election season. Canada decided to do that in the United States. As far as I can tell, and I've talked.
Yeah, Canada. How dare you? How dare you run a political ad in the US among the dozens of other political ads constantly being run here? How dare you put yours in? That really did something. I mean, we have certain standards here. We accept a certain level of corruption all the time but once you guys put a Ronald Reagan ad up, that's too much. Like, I don't. And if you're gonna if you're gonna try to do any harm to the United States, do it like us, like how we attack Canada from afar, like with trade policies and tariffs and threats. Like, do it like from real far away, like real cowardly. Like right? That's how you should do that. So
Talk to historians and all of that. It's probably the first time in American history that a foreign country came into the United States of America and tried to influence our politics and our policies through.
Oh my God. Just stop. Just stop. Stop trying to make this seem like such a big deal. It's not working. Oh my. This is the first time that a foreign country. It's Canada. It's like our closest ally and neighbor and historical friend and trade partner, and it's not like a foreign entity has infiltrated the United. Didn't you have to pay some kind of advertising provider in the United States? Like, you had to pay them. It's not like you snuck in and hacked the TV network in the US and broadcasted Big Brother hypnotism advertising. like he's making it seem like such a crazy thing. It's like the first time a foreign nation has tried to influence the American people. Like, doesn't Trump and all of his cronies say that about Russia? Anyway, or never mind. That was all. Now Russia's bad, or now they're good sometimes, or Putin can come to the White House and Zelensky should be kicked out, or what? Huh? What's happening?
Electioneering. It was very, very surprising, and but it's disappointing.
Canada would argue that.
Also, just like the looming presence of that's one of the worst things you can say Canada has done in the last year or two, or really in recent memory. If that's the worst thing you've done, run a Ronald Reagan ad, compared to what the United States has done, yeah, certainly makes Pete seem extremely tone deaf and whiny and completely unaware, totally oblivious of how this comes across. Like we're the victims.
Canada would argue that we were in sort of unprecedented times. We felt as though we were bullied. There was talk about a 51st state.
You do not come into another country and run political ads against the President of the United States. We don't come into Canada and run political ads against the Prime Minister.
We would if Trump felt like it, he would. And just because you don't literally go into Canada and purchase TV ads, that's a form of influencing things. Yes, that's true. But Trump, just on social media or by virtue of getting on American news networks, Trump has just as much reach and influence as a TV ad just by speaking. He's the president and he's Trump. What he says is going to get reported everywhere and broadcasted. So all of that negative, insane things Trump says about Canada, or if Trump gives his opinion on Canadian politics, which he does, it might as well have been a TV commercial. Instead, he just said it and got just as much reach. Like, it doesn't have to be a literal commercial to have the same effect or the same negativity, or so it's just so wrong.
or a political party in Canada. That's not appropriate behavior.
Is the president coming?
I'm never gonna get through this. I'm never gonna be able to get through this thing. It's like every sentence he says is so dumb. That's not a pro. I can't handle it when he says stuff like, well, and that's not appropriate behavior. Like, I can't stand it. Like, the audacity, the audacity to lecture Canada on what appropriate behavior is.
To Canada saying you could be the 51st state and you probably should. That doesn't seem appropriate either.
Well, I
Thank
think
you.
that discussion, as I've talked about the 51st state, if you want to talk about the 51st state, from my perspective, that's a discussion between the president and Mark Carney.
Oh, as soon as the Canadian journalist makes a good point, suddenly that's not something I can talk about. That's not a conversation for that's for Donald Trump to talk. Are you not the ambassador? Are you not the representative of Trump in the United States? Oh, suddenly you can't talk about it because she made a good point that you can't rebuttal. This is, oh my God. Like, yeah, you can't make this up.
And you have said that you think it's a good discussion, that they should have.
I didn't say that should be a good discussion or a bad discussion. That's for the two of them to have, not for me to weigh in on that. I've got
Okay.
enough to do without worrying about a 51st state, and that's a decision that's made at the top levels of government.
I mean, this is how you know he is like a U.S. Trump government crony. His total unwillingness to just be honest and blatantly say, like, yeah, the 51st state stuff was very disrespectful, totally out of line. I don't agree with that. He would never, ever in a million years say that, because he's just going to go along with whatever Trump says.
We talked about the 51st state. We talked about the tariffs, sectoral tariffs. You've said you don't understand why Canadians are upset with the U.S., that you just don't, you say, we've banned some products where Canadians don't want to travel some to the U.S. anymore. And you said you don't get why that is. And
I remember that. That was a video I did a while back. Famous quote, classic Pete Hoekstra at his best, where he said, I don't understand why Canadians are so upset. What's happening? Like, U.S. representative right there. Wow.
do you really have no idea why there would be some Canadians who are upset with the American government?
I like her. Yes. Because that's how I'd want to ask it. It'd be like, you really have no idea? Nothing? You can't wrap your mind around why Canadians would be upset with the U.S. at all?
Right now.
I'm not going to try to analyze Canadians anymore. Okay,
This is also a classic defense. Politicians like to employ Donald Trump, Pete Hoekstra. Classic defense. When someone makes a real good point, just act like you don't understand what's happening and you don't understand the question and you don't understand anything, right? That always works. Just say, I don't, I can't begin to speculate on what Canadians would think about the president of the United States threatening their sovereignty, or no idea what they'd think about that. You know what? Nothing? Not a single thought about that? Okay.
they want to be mad about the sectoral tariffs, which are totally legitimate under CUSMA, an agreement that Canada agreed to, they can be mad at the United States. If they
They're not, we're not talking, Canadians are mad at tariffs, and Americans should be as well, but that's not what we're talking about, Pete. We're talking about, like, literal, address the 51st state threat. Like, will he actually address that straight up?
want to, you know, be mad about a discussion and a point of view that came out of a discussion between your previous prime minister and the president of the United States, they can be mad at the United States of America.
Oh, it's just a point of view. Guys, calm down. It's just a point of view, right? It's just Donald Trump. Doesn't that make everything better? Don't you just understand Donald Trump has a point of view that Canada should belong to the United States? You can't get mad at that. We're not allowed to get mad at stupid points of view. I forgot about that. Huh.
All I can say is, you know, we're not mad at Canada, okay? We don't ban Canadian products. We don't tell Americans don't travel to Canada because Canada is a terrible place and is not treating us well. We don't prohibit American companies from bidding, or excuse me, we don't prohibit Canadian companies from bidding on state contracts and those types of things. Americans, by and large, we say we love Canada, and our actions follow that up.
It's if you know gaslighting, I think I've said this before. He's like the ultimate gaslighter, where he tries to make tries to make you feel crazy. Like, yeah, Canadians are just mad at us for, I don't know why. Canadians are just known for being so very mad, so mad at us. No idea what your problem is. Just completely acting as if there's no logical reason that Canadians should be mad, that Canadians should boycott us, that Canadians don't want to travel here or buy our goods or have any kind of dependency upon the United States. Acting like none of that makes any sense and acting like there's no rationale for it. I think that's the definition of gaslighting. Just like, or stupidity. I mean, I've already said this. He's literally acting like he doesn't understand common sense or just, plain facts. It's like like he doesn't understand anything about what has happened or what's been said, or which I'm going to give him some credit here. I know he understands. That's the thing. I think that's really frustrating. We all know he does actually understand what's going on. He's just pretending like he doesn't because he's not allowed by his keepers, by Donald Trump, to say anything negative about Trump or his policies or the US. So this is the defense. This is literally the defense of Trump's policies, is acting like you have no idea what's going on and that Canadians are very mean and bad and unreasonable.
I mean, Americans largely say that, but the president of the United States certainly undercuts some of that messaging when he comes in and suggests that we should be part of the U.S. I would argue.
That's very true. Americans do like Canada. Most normal, everyday Americans have absolutely zero issue with Canada, even with the boycotts and stuff, because I think, well, a lot of Americans are unaware of a lot of this. And if they are aware, I think a lot of them are kind of like me, where they actually understand that we deserve it. So I agree with what she's saying about that.
You can argue that, yeah.
You don't believe that, though.
I'm not going to argue with about. I'm not going to get into an argument about the 51st state.
Why?
Let the prime minister and the president talk about that next week if
Sure.
they think that's the top and the most important thing for them to do.
But he's more than willing to get into arguments about other stupid things, but not the 51st state thing, because he knows it's a losing battle, is the truth. So I guess I understand why. I wouldn't want to have to try to defend that either.
But there is a laundry list of things that the U.S. wants from Canada if we were to reach a deal with the U.S. between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And that laundry list includes a lot of different things. In the past, though, we have heard President Trump say that he doesn't need Canada. But again, why would you submit a list of things you want if you don't need Canada? So
I really like these Canadian journalists, like giving Pete Hoekstra such a hard time. And it doesn't, it's not like, it's not even that they're trying to create this like dramatic gotcha moment. It's like these are actually just legitimate concerns and questions and about contradictions in what the United States is saying and doing. And they're very valid questions, but it just so happens that they're like, this is like Pete Hoekstra's own personal hell, like trying to respond to these. It's funny.
how do we come to terms with both of those things said at the same time?
And not just funny, but valuable. As an American, I find this valuable. Like, because I want to know what our country is doing and or thinking, like the rationale behind these decisions. I want to know what our explanation is.
Well, the need is one thing. We have needs for lots of things. We have needs for critical minerals. We have needs for automobiles. We have needs for aluminum and those types of things. It's another thing to say that those needs
Cheetos, Doritos. We have lots of needs. Yes.
have to be filled by a particular country, okay, that it has to be filled by Canada. We think on a lot of those things. Cars. Canada's a natural partner for us on automobiles. All right, we've got an integrated automobiles supply chain and those types of things. And so I think Canada could make a compelling case that for additional cars coming into the United States of America, Canada is the ideal supplier. It's better, they could make the case that it's maybe better than Mexico, maybe.
Oh my goodness, it's difficult to even like listen to, really. There's things we need, but we don't have to get from Canada. That's not even really true. Actually, Canada has a lot of things that we need that we really need to get from Canada. A lot of things that have to do with energy, oil. You mentioned automobiles, even water. A lot of stuff. So, what? Yes, Trump's statements that we don't need Canada are actually factually wrong. Like we do actually need Canada. It shouldn't even come to it should be like we want to do trade and business with Canada. It shouldn't That's why it's so perverted that it's even coming to this where like we're deluding ourselves. Like almost it's childish. That's what it is. Childish. Like you're mad that you have to rely on your parents for like money for bubble gum or you're like I don't need you. It's like you do. You actually do. And it's not a bad thing. You can have a great relationship with your parents. I mean, not everyone can, but hopefully, ideally, you can. And get your allowance and get your bubble gum. And you got to behave, though. That's kind of like what Donald Trump needs to understand right now.
A better place to get cars from than Japan or South Korea. So sure, we have those needs, but it doesn't come down to say we need those particular items from a particular country.
No, I mean, we do. Canada, geographically, is just positioned in such a way, and historically, we're so intertwined with Canada in so many ways, so many industries, manufacturing processes. Geographically, trade is easier, quicker, more fit. We would be so stupid to not have Canada as a top trading partner. So stupid.
You did mention that there are decisions that the U.S. has taken that not everyone will like, difficult decisions because you are leaders, you said. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, especially on national security, you can take a look at the last number of months. We took a leadership position in the Western Hemisphere with our actions in Venezuela. We've taken some leadership activities in the Middle East in regards to Iran achieving a nuclear weapon.
I can't believe he has the gall to bring up Iran as an example of anything positive that the US has done. Iran, Iran, however you want to pronounce it, has been such a monumental failure for the United States and Trump's approval ratings reflect that. Like even people who voted for Donald Trump are raising an eyebrow like you campaigned on no new wars. And now we're in a war with Iran that we cannot escape from. And even for Americans who usually don't care about this stuff, it's making the cost of like gas go through the roof. Even Americans who don't care about stuff care about the cost of things. So, yeah, I mean, don't even get me started. The fact that he has the gall to bring up Iran is insane.
Some of our allies were with us on some of those on those two missions, and some were not.
And do you think that
And also, what is his point here? That if it's in the name of national security, the United States can do whatever we want. We're saving you. We're saving us. We're just let us save you. Let us save you. Like, let us take Greenland to save the world. Let us take Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, or because it's because of oil. No, I mean to save the world. Right. That's what it's all for. Yes.
mission so far would you still characterize it as successful at this point?
I think Venezuela has been very, very successful. I think Iran has been successful. Remember what our
Actually insane take. Actually insane take. Like, he needs to see the doctor, perhaps get a prescription, therapy. Seriously, I want what's best for him. Because when you say something like that Iran has been a success, I have real concerns for your mental health.
objective was to make sure that Iran did not get a nuclear weapon, and I think we've made significant progress in making sure that that does not happen.
Some of that progress had already been made, and now we have the Strait of Hormuz in a sort of critical unknown. And so, why are we in a better spot now than before of all of this? Would you say?
And if you took a look at like when they were trying to negotiate a peace deal with Iran, the concessions that the United States is willing to make, like Iran gets everything. Iran gets the Strait of Hormuz, money, resources, in and the United States gets nothing. Like, and Iran didn't even end up accepting that. Like, that's how you know if Trump is like willing to do that, he is beyond desperate to end this war. Even Trump understands that. So it's funny that Hoekstra doesn't even understand that.
Because we've clearly pushed Iran much further away from ever achieving a nuclear weapon and being a destabilizing force. We can.
When we bombed that little girls' school in Iran, is that when we stopped Iran from having nuclear weapons? When we bombed that little school? I don't know. Did you ever hear about that? The United States accidentally like landed a drone missile on a school for little girls in Iran. Seriously, in Iran, killing hundreds of innocent little girls. The United States did that. That's one of my takeaways from our accomplishments in this war.
Fronted a threat in the Middle East, and effectively we've eliminated that threat.
Okay. I think there are people who would disagree with you, but I want to put a pin in that for now because I want to move on to the Canada, U.S., Mexico agreement.
Okay. Well, this was interesting. I suppose I got some of my questions answered, or did this really just raises a bunch of more questions, concerns that I have about the U.S., the people that we are choosing to represent us, how we make our decisions. It's actually extremely troubling. Seeing stuff like this, seeing these answers and comments from Hoekstra, extremely, extremely disturbing. Seriously. But I am grateful, like, there's, like, Canadian journalists, and there's American journalists out there, too, trying to, like, get to the bottom of this and expose a lot of this insanity. So that's good. It's been exposed here today. A little too much. So I am glad I took a look at this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on what the U.S. ambassador to Canada had to say here today, and especially from a Canadian point of view. That'd be really interesting. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian things that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.